A lot of people want me to touch on, sex with a narcissist. So, was it that good, or was it your only connection? Because I get a lot of people when I'm talking to them one-on-one, they say like the sex was amazing or whatever, and I always ask them, I was like, was it that good, or was it your only connection? Because a lot of times when you deal with a narcissist, physical intimacy becomes the only connection that you have. Because narcissists like to withhold affection. Narcissists like to withhold kindness and care and compliments and things like that. So if that is the only connection that you have, it's always going to seem better than what it actually is. So is it the best sometimes? Yeah, it can be. But I always say, ask yourself, is it that good, or is it literally your only connection to this person? Because I hear it a lot. They say, well, we never struggled in that department whenever we did it. So this happens quite a bit when you're dealing with a narcissist or a toxic person, where they will just blindly agree with you just to get you to be quiet. If you're new here, I'm a narcissist, actually a narcissistic personality disorder. Narcissistic people hate being wrong. And I know a lot of people hate being wrong, but narcissistic people hate being wrong because being wrong lets into shame. I don't think y'all understand how hurtful, how powerful shame is in a narcissist's life. Shame is a narcissist's biggest weakness, is a narcissist's greatest fear that a lot of us won't admit. So they will do anything possible to avoid shame. You've heard me refer to shame as the shame monster. Like, it's a monster that lives under the bed, just waiting to come out and attack the narcissist. So instead of being wrong, they'll say things like, you know what, you're right, I'm wrong. Let's agree to disagree. We both made mistakes. Statements and sentiments like that, y'all. And just because they say something sarcastic, like, you know what, you're right and I was wrong, doesn't mean that they think you are right. Trust me.
He blocked me. What a f***ing loser.
So that actually happens quite a bit when people find out that somebody is following me. If you're new here, I'm a narcissist, actually a narcissistic personality disorder. Don't mind the hair, just getting it done, y'all. A lot of people see my videos and automatically assume that I'm pandering to women, or I'm pandering to survivors and victims and things like that, where I'm actually spreading awareness and waking people up to how the mind of a narcissist or a toxic person works. A lot of people see my videos and want to send them to their partners or send them to their exes and things like that. And I highly recommend against doing that, because first of all, you're going to make me a new enemy. Probably somebody who doesn't know me is going to hate me because they see me pointing out their toxic behaviors, or they'll use my videos to further manipulate you with. Just like, oh yeah, I agree with that person, right? I agree with Lee. He's right on. Whole time not agreeing with me, but just seeing that they can use my videos as a vessel to manipulate you further. The first rule of the Fight Club is we don't talk about the Fight Club and we don't talk about narcissism. So typically all relationships with narcissists and toxic people follow a particular cycle. And if you're new here, I'm a narcissist, actually a narcissistic personality disorder. So all relationships with narcissistic people follow the same cycle of narcissistic, toxic abuse or whatnot. The love bombing idealization stage, followed by the devaluation stage, followed by the discard stage. But there is no set timetable to when that can happen. People can love bomb you for a week, or they can love bomb you for a year. There's no particular time period when when the mask will drop, and then start the devaluation phase, and then go to the discard phase and whatnot. And the discard phase, to me, has two different stages: the emotional discard and the physical discard. To me, everybody gets emotionally discarded by a narcissist, where they emotionally disconnect from you. But not everybody gets physically discarded by a narcissist. They will emotionally discard you, but keep you around in their life. Some of them will. So there's no particular timeline or timetable, but setting boundaries can help speed the process up, honestly. Hope this helps. So some narcissists don't just withhold physical intimacy, they can withhold emotional intimacy as well. And of course, if you're new here, I'm a narcissist, actually a narcissistic personality disorder. So narcissistic people can withhold physical intimacy as a form of punishment and a form of control in a relationship dynamic with them. But they can also withhold emotional intimacy as well. And what I mean by withholding emotional intimacy is doing something as simple as listening to you, doing something as simple as validating you and sharing secrets with you and telling you that they love you. Any type of emotional closeness, they withhold that from you as a form of punishment and as a form of control. And this happens in a lot of toxic relationships, y'all, where you will literally be begging a person to talk to you, begging a person to communicate with you and to validate your emotions, begging a person to validate. This is where breadcrumbing or intermittent reinforcement comes into play, because every once in a while, they'll do it. Every once in a while, they'll validate your emotions and your feelings, and you'll be happy for a little while. Then they'll stop. A lot of narcissists do not care how their actions are affecting you as long as their needs are being met. And if you're new here, I'm a narcissist, actually a narcissistic personality disorder. A lot of people want to touch on how to communicate with a narcissist better, or do they know that they're hurting you and things of that nature? Yes. Most narcissistic people know the difference between right and wrong, and they see how their actions are affecting you. But if their needs are being met, a lot of them do not care. If their sexual needs are being met because they're cheating on you, they don't care how it affects you, especially if you decide to forgive them and stick with them through it. And the same thing applies to financial needs, emotional needs, and things of that nature. I'm just telling you, as long as that narcissistic person feels like they're getting fulfilled in some way, shape, or form, they don't care how it affects the people around them. A lot of people can't fathom other people being able to think and act like that because you yourself can't think and act like that. You can't put yourself in the shoes of a narcissistic person and see how they operate in such a terrible manner sometimes. Oh, I love this one. You believe the ex is crazy, now you're the crazy ex. This is in reference to when you're dealing with a narcissistic person or toxic person and they say something like, you know what? All my exes are crazy. I have a history of attracting and dealing with crazy exes. And then you end up believing that person. You end up believing that they've had crazy exes because you might have had crazy exes. Then guess what happens? Why those exes are crazy, why they might be crazy, comes to the forefront. That narcissistic person or toxic person starts to treat you terribly, starts to drive you crazy, starts to gaslight you, starts to manipulate you, starts to devalue you. And then typically once they start to devalue you, they discard you and get rid of you. And then they try to move on to someone else. And then guess what happens? Now you are the crazy ex in their story. Where they try to tell their new supply, hey, look, my last ex is crazy as hell. Then the cycle continues. Thank you for sharing this right here. This was a good line. Ooh.